Before humans first arrived on the shores of Aotearoa, this land was but one great forest. A perfect ecosystem, balanced and flourishing with life and diversity, and yet somehow, to this day, our forest still thrives. Whatungarongaro he tangata, toitu te whenua. The land will remain when the people are gone. For every tree, every bush, every plant, every herb carries with it the legacy of the great forest that was before us. When we look up, we see giants in the sky, trees so high they could almost touch the clouds, hundreds of years old and still standing proud. But when you turn back the clock soon enough, you'll find out that every great tree was once but a sprout. And those sprouts grew strong not by doings of their own, but by the knowledge and caring of trees long gone, whose knowledge is a symbol for what our society must become. Just like a forest will only survive, society will only thrive when we nurture the young. At the core of our humanity are our beginnings. Though every life is unique in its own right, we all start out as children. The morals and ideals that we form in our childhoods go on to mold the people we become. And the environment that we grow up in plays a key role in this. In today's world, however, lives a danger that threatens the unity of our country, a great danger that inhibits the full potential of our diverse community, and this is the part where I explain racism. But I don't need to do that, do I? Because everybody knows. Raise your hand if you have ever heard racist statements being made on social media or online. Raise your hand if you have ever been in a situation where a person's race has affected the outcome. Raise your hand if you have ever heard someone making racist jokes or comments in person. Raise your hand if racism has ever affected your life personally. Racism is not some extremity that lives on the far ends of our society. It isn't something that we see occasionally on TV. Racism is not most dangerous when it is loud and obvious and screaming in our faces. No, racism is most dangerous when it lives in our environment and in our everyday lives. Because as children, we learn from the environment around us. Just like young sprouts in the forest, our environment plays a key role in determining who we will grow up to be. Coming to New Zealand as a child, the color of my skin played a large role in my life and meant that sometimes I didn't fit in. And my accent would act as a judge of my intelligence, but those stereotypes portrayed by some did not come from within any kid, but the environment around them. But luckily, I was blessed to have friends, white and brown and tan, and great trees around me that raised me to not hate any man, but to fight the racism that had scarred the lives of countless children, because one day, surely, humanity will win. Poipoia te kakano kia pōwai. Nurture the seed and it will grow. But it is not that we nurture the seed, but how we nurture the seed. This is what shapes our legacy and carves the path that our society will take. In the immortal words of Nelson Mandela, history will judge us by the difference we make in the everyday lives of our children. The battle for racial unity is one that can only be won through societal change. When we look back throughout history, there have been many great leaps taken to advance racial unity through our law. But the real change has always occurred when people decide to move as one towards a common goal. Because there is nothing more powerful than human cohesion. And at the heart of this cohesion should be our rangatahi. To me, nurturing the young means more than just looking over young people. It means actively involving them in the building of a society that is unified. The greatest thing we can do for young people in this country is not to teach, but to enable. Young sprouts in the forest are not lifted up out of the ground, but instead they work their way up, growing higher and higher towards the light. It is only when young people are enabled to contribute towards our society that we will move forward. It is only this that will save us from ourselves. We must create opportunities for young people that can be used throughout our schools and curriculums. These opportunities must be made widespread, such as allowing time in classrooms for the discussion on matters such as race relations and diversity. Growing up as a minority, I can tell you personally the struggles that come from living around people who do not understand things about different cultures. Education is the ally of improvement. And discussions are important because they allow rangatahi to learn and to speak. You see, it is not that society needs to give young people a voice. I believe young people already have a voice. Society just needs to listen to it. When I read the question, what would most inspire young people to make their best contribution towards the goal of racial unity, I thought of this exact moment. Parents may agree with me when I say there is nothing more inspiring to young people than the voice of their peers. I will not lie, sometimes the voice of my friends have led me astray, but they have also brought me to where we are today. All of us in this room to hear the voices of our rangatahi, not here for fame or gain or notoriety, but all with something to say to our society. So if anybody asks, these are the people who inspire me. Just as the land will remain when we have passed on, so will the legacy and habits that we create outlive us and pass on to the next generation. Ko ngā pai tāwhiti, whaia kia tata. Ko ngā pai tāta whakamaua kia tina. The potential for tomorrow depends on what we do today. Common society are the movers of the world. A law is just words until we decide to live it, just as racism only has the power that we decide to give it. I am a lone tree until I gather with you to become a forest. And in the ecosystem of a forest, there is no tree that does not have a role. Every tree works together, and the behaviors of every organism determine the overall success or failure of the forest as a whole. So it is within human society. So you see, there is no race, no class, no division, but the one that we create. So it is up to all of us to actively participate in the building of a society that is unified. We are always told to be the change we want to see in our society, and this is true because by living out the values we want to see, we create an environment in which these values are enabled to exist. So as we learn from the forest and nurture our young, let me leave you with a phrase from my mother tongue. Imiti ikula empanga. The bush of today is the forest of tomorrow. So let us raise our rangatahi to be the forest we want to see. Many people, many cultures, one nation, one dream. To build a New Zealand built on love and diversity so that we may achieve true unity. Kia ora.